Alrighty, ahoy, whiskey gingers. We
Ahoy.
ahoy. I wanted to spice it up a tad. Um, Welcome back to another edition here of the Whiskey Gingers podcast. I'm Brandon. He's Chris, and this is going to be a bit of a double content week. So we're going to lead off with the show you know and love, the live show. Here at the bar where we're tasting new whiskey every show, and then later this week, and get a little bit behind the scenes footage of what Brandon, Chris, and Jeff got into over the weekend. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be a YouTube exclusive. It sounds like trying to grow those numbers because right now I think eighth grade science projects are getting more views than us on YouTube. So
Our YouTube audience is letting us down. So if you guys haven't checked out our YouTube page, we always leave the links in all of our bios for everything like that. So please, whatever source you're watching on right now, go check us out over there. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Helps out a lot.
yeah, so make sure you're checking that out. That's coming up later on this week. But for the meantime, we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. We're back with another gifted whiskey. As you guys know, I have a group of friends who, whenever we go to each other's houses, pretty much it's customary to gift each other whiskeys. That's why you hear me talk so often about, is this a whiskey that you'd be, proud to share with somebody and stuff like that. That's kind of because it's the relationship I have with whiskey. And this week brought us the small batch 1792 Kentucky Straight Bourbon. It's on the stronger side for some of the stuff we've had lately. 94 proof.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely a little bit stronger than I think typically we've been living in the low 40s overall. Named in honor of the year Kentucky joined the United States, 1792, small batch bourbon is made from a marriage of a few select barrels carefully chosen by a master distiller. So this is kind of in the best way possible, a bit of a hodgepodge, it sounds like.
And what has me curious, and I'm sure somebody knows right off the bat, but is it that the brand is called small batch and this whiskey in particular is 1792, or is 1792 the brand and this is their small batch option?
It sounds like 1792 small batch might be the name.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting that vibe too from the back of it.
Yeah. So this refined bourbon elevates Kentucky distilling to exceptional new heights and is celebrated by whiskey connoisseurs worldwide. The subtleties make it incomparably brash, bold, yet smooth and balanced. All that to say, this is probably not going to be one of my favorite bourbons. If you know me, I don't love a brash and bold bourbon.
A brash and bold. That sounds like something that you would hear out of like a SpongeBob episode.
Oh, no, there was somebody.
It was something
big
like
and brash
that.
or big brash and bold. It was when Scrooge was painting.
Oh, yeah. I don't
what I'm
remember
talking
what
about?
it was called. I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was what they named his painting.
Bold and brash. God damn it.
We need to look that up, honestly, because I feel like that's important context.
That's
Squidward.
I'm like, what's your guess? I think it's bold and brash.
I think you're right. Something with bold. Squidward's painting. What's the name of it? Bold and Brash.
Yes, let's go.
That's what it was called. That's hysterical. A painting made by Squidward hoping to impress an art critic.
I know me SpongeBob.
That's funny. That's why you said ahoy.
Ahoy.
It was dialed in. You were channeling your inner Mr. Krabs.
Ooh, lives in the pineapple under the sea. So we're going to see if this is the first bold and brash bourbon that I have actually enjoyed. I'm hoping that's the case.
It looks like quite the cork on this thing. Look at that. It's like two corks in one.
It's a beautiful bottle.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Considered. I have no idea what this cost. I thought it was tacky to look, but we're going to look on the podcast.
Okay.
Oh, that was such a tease. Do it again. That sucks.
I feel like I should just pull it right out.
Yeah, try that. There we go. That's what we're looking for.
See, like sometimes we get the bend actually helps because it kind of like pulls it out in a certain way, but that was a solid for the size of this cork. It had to have made it sound.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't gonna let that first one stand.
Yeah, perfect. Well,
all right,
let's give it a look.
Let's see what we got. Looking, I mean, mine's always going to be light. Looking through the bottle, I think your glass is going to be dark. Mine's dark for a whiskey on ice.
Actually, I was kind of thinking that myself.
Yours is almost like lager brown.
Yeah.
We gotta get some new coasters.
That's all right.
The custom Farron Pub coasters are working their way out. Maybe we'll get Whiskey Ginger's coasters next.
I'm curious to smell it. I don't think.
Oh,
I
mama.
don't think you're gonna like it.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, you got allergies?
It's got a lot of flavor. You can smell it.
Get yourself a bottle of 1792. Forget the Theraflu.
Bold is
Bold
an
brash.
understatement.
All right, let's give her a go.
Cheers to you.
Tell you
It's
what.
More nose flavor.
Yeah,
I don't want to say it's not flavorful to drink because that's not accurate.
but it's way more smell than.
It's way more smell, and you would have expected, especially at the slightly higher proof,
Yeah.
that it was going to really kick you in the back of the teeth, and it didn't.
This was a lot of bark, not as much bite.
Yeah, I agree, and it's actually got a pretty good flavor.
I went into this with very low expectations, which could have something to do with this. I really enjoyed that sip.
I think it's good.
Yeah,
It definitely stands up on its own as like a good tasting bourbon.
Yeah.
So, and you said it was a bourbon blend, or just blend of flavors?
It's a blend of different batches, is from what I'm reading.
Yeah.
So, and it's not really clear as to
Refined
the
bourbon.
different types of batches that went into it, but it's described as kind of like a medley a little bit.
Well, it says a marriage of a few select barrels chosen by the master distiller. So, like, I guess, it's not as though they're taking their nastiest bourbons and putting them together. Clearly, this is actually a collection of stuff that tastes pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's starting to make me think that it's a little pricier than we might have thought.
So I'm going to look and see because I am kind of curious.
I would be surprised to find out that it was sub 50.
Okay, so what's your actual number, you think?
I would say ranges anywhere from 50 to 65.
Okay. You're going to be surprised.
Am I going to be surprised?
Yes. I am floored.
Is it lowballed?
$32.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
And that's not at like Whiskeys R Us. That's fine wine and good spirits. That's the industry standard.
That's good for what it is. Honestly.
I think it's great for the price point.
It really exemplifies the kind of bourbon that we like.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of flavor, but it doesn't have as much of that charcoal overpowering all the other notes that are in it.
I am over the moon.
It's warm. It tastes good. I mean, in comparison,
here's a little bit more information. This definitely helps. So it's a sophisticated, complex, distinct bourbon made from our signature high rye recipe. It's interesting because I'm not typically a rye person.
Mm-hmm.
And the marriage of select barrels, unmistakable spice mingles with caramel and vanilla to create a bourbon that is incomparably brash and bold, yet smooth and balanced, which I would agree with.
Yeah.
Doesn't age 12 years. I just want to see. So what's your? Well, these are in price order. All right, let me see what their 12 year is.
Do they all say small batch? They just go up in year. Like it's 1792
so
small batch.
1792 is the brand.
Yeah.
And it appears that small batch is
on the lower end. At 32, I'd imagine it would be.
I would assume it's got to be.
Yeah.
But it's not low end quality. I mean, this when the bottle presents well, the whiskey tastes great.
Yeah.
I would have no problem serving this at you have people over at dinner party, bringing it somewhere. As long as they don't look up the price, I think you're home free.
Maybe we missed out on like a hidden gem.
Yeah. And coming on the heels of, when you'll see when this drops, but we tried another pretty unknown bourbon in the camping video. And our biggest gripe about that was it was lacking in flavor. It had a watery consistency to it.
Yeah.
So coming on the backs of that, kind of getting reminded of what you can get in a well thought out bourbon.
And to be fair, that bottle was definitely more expensive than
$18 more, right?
Yeah, I think it was close to $50. So it's crazy to think of that. But you know what? When it's out there and you hit it, you hit it. And it could also be our personal opinion on what we like in a bourbon.
Yeah.
There could be bourbon people out here that think, wow, this is not a great bourbon. It doesn't have the flavor I'm looking for. Therefore, I think that it's not good for the price point. But I think for what we like in a bourbon, I like that kind of spicier, warmer flavor. And I think that we definitely get that a lot from this one.
Yeah, there's I've been reading the comments. I've been listening to the boards, and there's a notion out there that I don't like bourbons. I have loved more bourbons on this show than I ever expected to. To Chris's point, I've been very clear. I don't love a whiskey where the burn is part of its character. It's much the same way. I don't think like the hottest wings on America or whatever is an accomplishment. They don't taste good. They're just hot. I like this is a stronger bourbon, I would say, flavor wise, and I love it because there's a deep flavor profile. It's interesting. It's different. It's not just hot.
Would you consider this something that you might start buying more regularly? You think
Yeah, like if I have a house bourbon or something, like I'm an Irish whiskey guy, always will be. But if I were to keep a bourbon in house, I would do this one.
I think that's what I think about a lot when I'm like stocking the bar for company and everything else. It's like we've tried a lot of different whiskeys, a lot of Irish whiskey, a lot of bourbons. We've even done some like oddball things like Japanese whiskeys and things. And the thought that always crosses my mind is when somebody inevitably comes over the house and they're not like as invested as we are, what do you serve them? Because they're going to be like, what's your favorite? Or like, what's your recommendation? All these different things. And that's so subjective anyway.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I always look out for a bottle where I'm like, okay, well, at a $30-something price point, if you had a bottle or two of this laying around your house, you wouldn't feel too bad if somebody came over and you had like 5 or 6 friends over and they each wanted to try a glass. Exactly. I wouldn't necessarily want to do that with some of my other whiskeys, but something like this, you could definitely do that with.
Yeah, it reminds you of like the house wine at a nice Italian joint. Like somebody who loves wine is probably going to appreciate like a $25 to $30 glass of wine.
Yeah.
But for someone who just wants to pair a wine with a steak or a wine with pasta, that's what the house wine's for.
Yeah.
I almost think of this bourbon as like a house bourbon where someone comes over and says, I guess I'll do a whiskey, but just whatever you got.
Yeah.
This is what I got.
No, it's good, honestly. I bet you makes a killer old fashioned too.
Yeah, I think so too. Because the only thing it's missing, I think, is again, it's the Irish whiskey in me, a little sweetness.
So if you had a little bit of that, like the bitter in there with the simple syrup and then orange flavor, I think it would really give you what you're looking for. The bitters wouldn't, but like
I think you got yourself something.
The orange peel and the simple syrup would actually, or sugar cube would give you a lot out of this.
Because I don't want to taste, like we've talked about this. I mean, that's the reason you don't like the maraschino cherries in there. Like you want the whiskey to still be the star, but you want some little add-ons.
Yeah, no, I agree, 100%.
This is strong enough where nothing in that's going to overpower it, but it will add to it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't even think that's that much of a hot take. I don't think that true old fashions are supposed to have the cherry in it.
I don't think so either.
I think it's only orange peel, and you're supposed to espresso it and everything else. I've seen people be as heinous as to put orange slices.
Yeah. Oh, like cut an orange.
Yeah, like cut an orange and just drop it in there. But that's not quite the point. Like what you hit the nail right on the head. You're supposed to be tasting the whiskey as the primary flavor in an old fashioned. It just kind of dresses it up in a way.
Yeah.
I think that's what it makes it more palatable for a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Like I think if you weren't a diehard whiskey person and you wanted to try a whiskey beverage, I think that an old fashioned is your gateway in to maybe trying some whiskey at another time.
Yeah.
Old fashions are the gateway drug of
yes, they are.
Whiskey.
And if you ever want to see somebody get absolutely wrecked, tell them it's a mixed drink.
Yeah.
Because it ain't. It's just whiskey.
Because if you start drinking that like it is a mixed drink, you're going to be in trouble.
Oh, yeah. You're going to be in the hospital. But yeah, this that's a good point. This would go great with that. This was very enjoyable. And it almost, it kind of warms you up a little bit.
Well, it's chilly outside tonight, so
it is chilly. And
for those of you that are on the northeast coast over here, it's weather is dropping. Not that we care, we quite like it, but it is happening.
Yeah, but that's why for years and years, they had St. Bernards out in the wilderness with barrels of whiskey to warm people up.
It might have been 1792.
It could have been
in the barrel.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think they've been around that long. I've tried 3 segues so far, and Chris keeps swatting them out of the air like Matumbo. Chris and I went camping over the weekend. I can't do a gentle transition because you keep steering the ship in another direction.
Fair enough.
I'm trying to talk about the wilderness warming you up, the cold, and you're like, yeah, it is rather damp outside.
It is really rather damp.
What the hell?
I'm thinking of it as the weather person, not as the the broadcaster here.
I'm trying to take us somewhere.
But no, yeah, we had an experience going out. We've said it before. We'll say it again. We try and get together with myself, Brandon, and Jeff to do a yearly camping kind of trip. And last year it got canceled because of some unforeseen conditions that were happening in the state forest that we were going in, but we really enjoyed the first year.
It was cold as tits.
Oh yeah, it was freezing. We went in like November
last
year, and then the first year we had a really good time, and this year we had an absolutely amazing time. We wound up staying in Sproul State Forest. Am I getting that right?
Yes,
that was it.
Sproul State Forest, just outside State College, Pennsylvania, or for you baseball fans, about an hour from Williamsport with the Little League World Series.
happily would recommend that area to anybody. I thought it was really cool, even just to drive through or whatever. But the state forest itself seemed to have some really cool trails.
You don't want to
It was
go.
fun.
It sucks.
Yeah, we're keeping it to
It's
ourselves.
totally overrated. Shut the hell up.
There's about zero chance I'm going to tell anybody on the internet where we specifically stayed because I'm not giving that site up.
Yeah, that's true. There's a bunch of camping sites and things.
But there's a ton of camping sites. They organize them all sorts of ways between like roadside hiking and backpacking and whatever. But point being, our biggest thing is we like to try and find a spot where it's kind of like a glorified backpacking trip. It's not, because we typically don't have to walk very far from where we park to get there, but it's also not a campground. There's not a bunch of other people around. However,
we do completely pack a truck bed with the supplies. But to your point, we try to stay a little bit off the grid, a little bit, kind of get back to the roots a tad. And for the most part, we do. This time, however, which is great for us, we picked a beautiful vista overlooking a mountain range, overlooking just the west bank of the Susquehanna River. Just, a gorgeous place to take in nature, and about 14 strangers completely agreed.
Unfortunately, it was also not only a campsite, but listed as a vista as well.
Yes.
So people were taking in the views right alongside of us.
Yeah, we were, honest to God. For those of you out there who camp, you kind of know, like, once you set up your area, your tent is really like your bedroom. And then everything else, around the tent, you kind of treat it like your house. Like, your living room's on the fire, you got your kitchen, like whatever. Yeah. So we're sitting there playing Uno, and it feels like people just walked right into your home. Like, we're in the living room, playing Uno, hanging out, and strangers just walked right on in.
It puts you in a little bit of a moral predicament.
Yeah.
Because at some point, part of you is like, well, you can't really own this spot. So, like, I get it. I'm fine sharing it and everything else.
And they were all great people.
Everybody was super nice, but not many of them were like, is it okay if we go do this real quick? It was more so just, I'm going to insert myself in this, and I hope you're okay with it.
Yeah, I would say,
I would have never said no, but I almost wish they would have been like a little bit more, hey, is it cool if we just take a quick peek over here or something? Instead, it was more just, let me walk right through, to your point, your living room.
Yeah, so the last family that we met, we were out playing football. We insisted that they go look at it. She was pretty cool about it. Like, oh my God,
they were the ones that were super nice about it.
Yeah, and I thought the dudes in the morning were all right. Like, they showed up. And then after like 2 or 3 minutes, they're like, look, we'll get out of your way. We just appreciate you doing this. Like, we don't want to take up any more of your time. We kind of said at that point, look, you're here, man, hang out, whatever.
Yeah.
You're right. They invited themselves, but I feel like they were at least cognizant of
it was really the last family that I think
they were there for like a half hour.
Yeah. And they like totally, I remember they were like walking in between our like fire pit area and stuff. Like, we put a lot of work into setting that place up. We had to build a fire pit from scratch and get the tent set up and everything else. And they're just like trudging through. It'd be like if somebody didn't take their shoes off and they walked in on your carpet.
Yeah, I was going to start charging admission.
We probably could have made a killing.
Yeah, and again, a couple people, super cool. The one guy came up completely by himself, which we had 3 groups and 1 loner, and by far the loner scared the shit out of me. Groups. Everybody else had kids, cameras, beers, what have you. This one guy just walked, again, didn't say a thing, just walked right up the trail, right through our living room, and stood there.
Well, the 3 options that could have been was A, he was a state forest representative and telling us that we shouldn't be there.
Yeah, in a hoodie and jeans.
And jeans. B, he was just a casual person walking through, which he was. Ding, ding, ding. Or 3, he was a serial killer. Luckily enough, it wasn't C.
Yeah.
But it certainly could have been A or C.
Which is a big reason why, again, to your point, people should have asked. I'll take a little bit of the blame, and I'll put a little bit on Jeff too. Jeff and I greeted every group just by happenstance of where we were geographically at the time, and we got way out ahead of the serial killer thing. It was never like, hey, can I help you with something? It was like, oh, morning, man, come on in, hang out. Like, we were overly like borderline Midwestern,
which is funny because usually like I feel like I'm the friendly face to people out in public, and like I kind of in the middle of the wilderness I was way more, I'm not even gonna say little, I was way more standoffish to all of these people that came in. There was a couple times that you guys said some stuff and I didn't think it was like really incriminating, but at that point I was in my head, and like people would ask a genuine question like, oh, like, are you guys, is this your like second night camping here, are you guys staying here long? And And you guys are like, no, we just got here, all these things. I'm like, these people are coming back tonight for sure. That's like the only thing in the back of my head is like they're prodding for information. I was not willing to give out nearly as much information, and you guys were like open door Mr. Rogers on them. Like,
well, again, because
howdy, neighbor.
you just listed off our 3 possibilities, and 1/3 of them are serial killer. So if that's the case, I'll take my chances being overly friendly with some families. It's like when you remember you were in high school and there was like that quiet kid that would like look up from a notebook every once in a while, and you were like, "Hey man, I hope today's going okay for you. Do you want the answers? You know, can I get you a you're nice to the quiet kid."
Like in Billy Madison, and he apologizes to the guy, and then he.
I'm glad I'm friends with that guy. That was the.
It's exactly that. It's exactly that. That's hysterical.
Look, if they are serial killers and they're scouting, they're gonna walk by our campsite and go, "You know what? Good dudes."
Yeah.
And keep going.
Well, you know what? To be fair, everybody that we met out there was really nice, and there is always that potential that there was going to be somebody out there that was doing something funky or scary or whatever. But genuinely, everybody we ran into was super nice, and it was a cool area. We weren't too far removed from civilization. There was like a very small town quite nearby, and all those people seemed cool. They had like a flower fest going on.
Yeah, shout out Renovo, Pennsylvania, baby. You guys, I don't know if you know what's going on out in the rest of the world. I don't know if podcasting has reached you yet.
I think it's like a small isolated community because outside of that town, there ain't nothing for miles.
We'll burn this off. We'll get it in a DVD and we'll mail it to you.
Yeah.
But shout out to Renovo, Pennsylvania. You guys are a pretty cool group of people. They were having what the hell is it? A foliage? They have a
foliage
fest.
A
leaf festival.
A leaf fest when the leaves change.
It's awesome.
That's how they know what's going on.
Yeah.
They check the time of the year based on the leaves changing, and they do a festival about it.
Yeah, they're like diet Amish.
And I feel like that what was really funny about it, and this is like small town America in general, their biggest thing in town where everybody seemed to be congregating was the Dollar General.
It's all they had, man.
Like, that sounds terrible. We're not really trying to like bust on people.
No.
That's not the case. But like, it was a town meeting spot, essentially.
Yeah.
It's like where everybody went. I said you would make a killing having like a deli or something out there.
We looked. I mean, dude, we're driving back through town. So we got, poured rain Sunday morning. We're driving through town thinking like, look, these people gotta eat. There's gotta be a diner. It's a small town America. Gotta be a diner. I'm looking for like a Miss Libby's or something like that.
Well, we realized we were in God's country and everything was probably closed on Sunday.
That's true, except McDonald's.
So yeah, McDonald's was open, except apparently most of their workers observe, the Lord's Day because it was slow as shit in there.
That's a godless company. Dude, what I would have done for a Waffle House in that moment. That's one thing I wanted to bring up to you. Because we couldn't think of a let's drink about it. But for those of you, actually nobody knows this, but my family has a house in Tampa, and there was a hurricane down there, and we were trying to figure out how bad it was. And when I was in college, I would do hurricane relief work because, contrary to popular belief, Chris is far more handy than I am. I'm not lost with a drill, hammer, saw, etc. So I would go down, help people rebuild, walls, decks, what have you, roofs, stuff like that. And I learned about something called the Waffle House Index. Are you familiar?
I know what Waffle House is, but I've never heard about the Waffle House Index.
This is fun. So, in Florida in particular, but in general, Waffle House actually, their ops department has a secondary function. So their director, assistant director, like their C-suite level ops department functions as a weather service.
Okay.
Waffle House never closes. They've stayed open in like Cat 3 hurricanes. So the Waffle House Index is you can judge the severity of a hurricane based on the locality of closed Waffle Houses.
Oh my gosh.
And the Weather Channel, municipalities invite this team of, ops directors from Waffle House into their municipality to advise them on state of emergencies, evacuations, and stuff like that. And they call it the Waffle House Index. And it's a very real thing. You can look this up.
The Waffle House in St. Petersburg is closed.
Yeah.
It's time to get out.
It just happened in Tampa where someone got a clip from a town council meeting where they invited Waffle House to speak at the meeting and advise people on what to do during the hurricane.
That is such a, with great power comes great responsibility moment.
Yeah, because
way to go, Waffle House.
They've built up such a reputation of staying open despite the conditions that, like, if we're in, let's say, Reading, Pennsylvania, and there's a storm coming and the Reading Waffle House closes, that influences how the town treats the storm.
Gotcha.
very interesting stuff.
Well, it sounds like their employees must be of the generation of walking uphill through the snow to and from school.
Have you been to a Waffle House?
I've never been to a Waffle House
Are you
before.
kidding me?
I'm dead serious.
Get to a Waffle House.
It's been on my bucket list, and like there was a plethora of them when I was growing up, and I just
Yeah.
never got to one.
You got to get to a Waffle House.
Yeah, I know, it's criminal. Most people have told me that too.
Some of the best people ever work there, but everyone's on parole. Everybody's on parole, and everybody can handle themselves in a fight. So don't go lipping off at a Waffle House.
Yeah.
Look up the videos. I'm sure you've seen them.
Apparently, they're all also meteorologists in there.
Oh, that's the upper level management.
Yeah, the ops team.
You had to have seen that video where somebody threw a stool at the Waffle House cook.
I don't know if I have.
Do yourself a favor later. If you haven't seen it either, look it up. There's a woman who didn't understand where she was. Others in Friendlies, apparently. And she sat at a stool at the bar.
Where
House,
it's, totally
safe.
okay to throw stools at people.
And she got like a verbal altercation, picked the chair up, whipped it at the fry cook at Waffle House.
Uh-huh.
This woman, like, she looks like, like frail, probably 40s, like fry cook, wipes this thing away like Mr. Miyagi, comes across the counter and beats the living piss out of this woman.
They gave her a raise.
Yeah. So, woman who throws it, KO, laying on the ground, needs medical attention. This woman gets back behind the grill and starts slinging eggs.
Oh my gosh.
You got to look that video up. It is awesome.
I'll have to. I'm being told by our great producer that there was definitely no Waffle Houses where we grew up, so maybe that's why.
It's pretty southern. I mean, I was always under the impression the northernmost Waffle Houses were in Delaware.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there might be some where you guys grew up. But
Who knows?
Get yourself to a Waffle House.
I'll try it out. Next opportunity I get, we're doing Waffle House. It's on the list.
It's so cool. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, but it is just like salt to the earth people. Nobody's got a notebook anywhere. Like
Yeah.
you order, let me get a Western omelet. They're yelling back like, I need 3 chickens spattered, tattered, and this, that, and the other thing. Like it's a scene.
I always loved that hidden code that restaurants
yeah.
will use for
Running through the guard,
yeah,
trickle the infield,
whatever they're talking about. It's like you need a playbook to even understand what's going on. Somebody's got like one of those quarterback like wrist bracelet things on to draw out the plays for what they're going to call something. They do a weekly meeting and they go over the new lingo that's going to be used for like, ketchup on a burger.
They got a secret language over there.
It's amazing.
I think it might have been, how many episodes have been since then? It was right after we got back from the cruise.
Yeah.
I think we talked about something similar on the show where if I was starting the business, the kind of people I would hire to be upper level management,
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking about crew staff in this organization.
Oh my gosh.
Let me tell you who's middle management. The entirety of Waffle House.
Nothing's getting over on them.
They've never heard of a PTO day. They'll go to court, come to work. That's who I want on the ground floor running things.
Oh my gosh, you're really selling the place, that's for sure.
I mean, it's not fine dining. Don't get me wrong. But if you want consistency and breakfast and a show, get yourself a Waffle House.
That's hysterical. I love it. Well, I'll tell you guys what. I think that we're about out of time today. It might be a couple minutes earlier than we usually wrap up, but we are definitely going to try and post that bonus episode for you guys this week. I got to edit and throw a couple things together, so I'd expect it later on in the week, hopefully before the weekend.
Yeah, we gotta put some of those cartoon like boom pow things in there.
Definitely. But we'll get that out to you guys. So keep an eye out for that on our YouTube. Again, if you guys haven't checked out our YouTube, the links are always in the bio for all of our videos. So you'll be able to check that out.
They are.
Well, I'll put it in this one, I guess.
Okay.
They're on the bio for our account.
I haven't been putting them
Yeah, I
there.
was gonna say for our profile. If you check our profile,
That's
you'll see the links in our bio for those. And then just give us a like and a follow on YouTube, and that'll definitely help us out a lot.
Yeah, it's at Whiskeyed Gingers. Whiskey parentheses D Gingers. Sorry, Andrew Santino, we don't want that smoke.
I think we've differentiated ourselves enough at this point. I don't think he thinks we're coming for his spotlight.
Oh no, with our 48 videos.
Absolutely. So again, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yep. As always, I'm Brandon. He's Chris. We're the Whiskey Gingers.